And first of all, this came about because President Trump promised the American people that his administration would be one of maximum transparency. And one of the first things that he did when he came back into the Oval Office was issue an executive order that said we need to release all the documents that we have unredacted on the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. So we did the initial release of the previously never had been unredacted documents related to President Kennedy's assassination. And what we have just released here today is 10,000 pages that have been sitting in boxes within the National Archives that had never been digitized or viewed publicly before. These are documents related to the government's investigation into the assassination, documents related to discussions that were going on in other countries, State Department cables around the assassination, and a lot of the questions and theories that were being posed throughout this investigation. But I think a lot of people, most people have never seen before. The significance of this is huge. It's been nearly 60 years since Senator Kennedy was assassinated. We're obviously not stopping here. We discovered 10,000 pages at National Archives. We sent people out to hunt through different warehouses at the FBI and CIA, knowing there are likely other documents that have not yet been turned over to National Archives. And I tell you, just the other day, we discovered over 50,000 additional pages solely around Senator Kennedy's assassination that we have over 100 people at National Archives going through and scanning, and that will be the second release that we'll have here shortly.
Wow.
Looking good. Maybe you don't need an archivist.
You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. I mean, she's not Pam Bondi. Doesn't she seem to have more gravitas, Eric? They're both women. They're both, you know, she may be younger than Bondi. But I don't see her in a Western movie being filmed in Florida, a period Western, like you found with Pam Bondi. Wild Florida coming out shortly to a theater near you. She seems to have gravitas, Eric.
Well, partly because she doesn't stray out of her lane. I mean, she's on there. She's speaking specifically about a policy, something for Trump, and then moving on. I mean,
yeah.
It doesn't look like, you know, she's chatting and speculating. She just said, I was asked to do this.
Yeah.
Donald Trump put out the policy. I'm doing it. This is what I'm doing. Goodbye.
I don't think she's going to cherry pick documents like Pam Bondi was finding Israel unredacted related to Angleton and putting it out for reasons that even she didn't explain. I mean, just cherry picked one document and decided to release this one document or highlight it in her Twitter feed. I really trust Gabbard a billion times more than I trust Pam Bondi.
Well, she's got the track record for it too, just in her actions. I mean, she's the one who betrayed, if you will, Hillary Clinton and the DNC when she said Bernie got screwed over. Everything was wrong. She came out. She came clean. She's pretty good about that. Now, her voting habits, she's got a little bit of a problem there. Looks like it's going to blow over, but you know about that, right? That she apparently declared residency in Texas and said, this is my domicile, this is where I live. And then she went and voted in Hawaii. Happens. Exactly. There's a little bit of a tax thing and a voting deal. It's almost
so I dove into the files as soon as I woke up, still in my pajamas, because it's like Christmas at my house. And unlike the JFK files, this thing is pristine, virginal, and untouched. There's plenty of files in the state of California, which are up in Sacramento, that I've gone through, audio tapes, everything that the state of California has. But this has always been kept in the Justice Department and is it's FBI-ish and Justice Department-ish. There's letters in there for the American people. Really intelligent letters. I was just telling Eric before the show that one person wants the FBI or the Justice Department to get in on the case, and they're refusing, saying it's a state case and there's no law about assassinating a political figure running for president yet, and there's no Secret Service protection yet. So the Justice Department writes back saying, this is a state matter. But the guy who wrote the letter says, I beg to differ, sir, citing the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And he quotes a part of the Voting Rights Act saying if a candidate running for office is harmed or killed, this is a federal crime based on the Voting Rights Act. And I went, holy crap. They still ignored it. But the guy was right. The FBI should have taken over the case. And the reason that's important is because the LAPD was so corrupt. And yet the FBI has tons of files monitoring the case. But they're almost like an outside agency looking over the shoulder of LAPD, Eric.
Well, I'm sure that LBJ probably told his friend that, yeah, let the locals have it. You don't want to get involved, J. Edgar.
But he's not on the phone like he was with the Dallas police saying, you got your man, wrap it up. They believe that they do have their man, Sirhan. And the similarities between the two, again, we've talked about the JFK files, how the phony Oswald in Mexico story is designed to trigger an invasion of Cuba, laying the breadcrumbs of Oswald to Havana with the phony visas, the phony attempt by the Oswald imposter to get a visa from the Cuban consulate and the Soviet consulate in Mexico City. We're going to talk about more on that on Tuesday. But the situation becomes the same with Sirhan because he's depicted as anti-Israeli. And in the Middle East, groups of terrorists begin to use his name as the Sirhan Bashara Sirhan Brigade and begin to start to plan to invade Israel based on Sirhan's action of taking out RFK. In his pocket is a news clipping of the RFK TV appearance where he says, I am going to provide Israel with F-16 or F-116, I forget the actual number of the jets, for the first time if I'm elected president. And he's said by friends in these FBI documents to be extremely anti-Semitic, as I later found.
Which has been proven to you.
I later found out after getting him paroled, he turned and started to bite the hand that feeds him, finding out I was a Jew, wrote a long letter denouncing me as a Jew, which is a prized possession now going into my Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. But nevertheless, the similarities are the same because they're using Sirhan to launch an invasion against Israel, the people in the Middle East. They're using the Oswald case to launch an invasion of Cuba and possibly a first strike nuclear attack on the Soviet Union if things went well for the psychos. I mean, for the bombs away people in the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That being said, Johnson pulled the plug on the Oswald Castro thing. And this thing becomes a problem because they're now starting to rise up in defense of Sirhan. They begin to put together legal teams of Muslim lawyers. This is all in the document. That's why I'm mentioning this. There's a tiny bit in some books, but not much. So the FBI is talking internally about this. Now, getting into like one of the first documents I sent to Eric on the bottom of one of the early documents I found, and this is literally almost day one. If you look at the very bottom of this doc, and boy, oh boy, there are a lot of good docs in there. I'll just read it out loud. This is from June 10th, 1968. Yeah, there it is. It has been reported by LA, California Police Department that a ballistic examination has proven that the bullet removed from Senator Kennedy's head had definitely been fired by the murder weapon at a distance from 2 to 6 inches. Now, they have never admitted this because Sirhan never got closer than 3 to 6 feet in front of RFK and then had his hand banged onto the steam table by 20 different people, including Rayford Johnson and a lineman for the LA Rams, and George Plimpton. My mother was there. Everybody and their mother was banging his hand against the steam table, but he was still clicking away. So what this is indicative of is that they knew from day two that this gun was literally point blank behind the ear of RFK and underneath his armpit. Those are the two shots that only someone within a couple of inches in back of him could have possibly fired on the planet Earth. Sirhan is facing him 3 to 6 to 10 feet away, coming at him over with a steam table on the right. This is in the pantry, of course, of the famous Ambassador Hotel following his win in the California primary in 1968 and June 4th, and then into the 5th, into the morning. So Sirhan never gets this close to him. And the LAPD knew this. And that's why this document is important, because the only way to try this case, which they said was an open and shut case, and it was to me and it was to everyone, until you get into
and this substantiates the autopsy.
This substantiates the autopsy that Dr. Drew had a problem with yesterday. I'm not sure what that was about. But that's his own.
He's not the president of the Thomas Noguchi fan club.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because Noguchi did the perfect autopsy surrounded by the coroner, or whatever their title is, of each military branch of the United States, saying, and he called them to come in for the autopsy, saying, I don't want another Dallas here. In essence, another Bethesda, really, because it was done at the Bethesda Naval Hospital. But he was referring to the botched autopsy as he perceived it of the Kennedy, of his brother. So this being said, he described it himself in his career and in his memoir that this was the most perfect autopsy I've ever done in my life. It's not complicated. Maybe that's why it was so perfect. I mean, there's a shot right here behind the right ear of RFK, of Senator Kennedy, and then there's a shot underneath the right armpit of Senator Kennedy. Now, the only person
from the back. Right.
Both are from the back, and they attempted, like they did with JFK's throat wound, to say that RFK was spinning around, shaking. They went through this entire dance, and I've got the footage. I've got actual LAPD footage on tape of them attempting to reenact the assassination, and it was so badly done that they put it in their files and never released it. It was supposed to be for the trial. And they're pretzeling this guy who was playing Sirhan, and a guy playing RFK who's a cop. They're pretzeling this guy, trying to get the gun and the shots lined up, and they realize they look like schmucks. And they say, fuck it, don't ever release this, Sarge, whatever you do. I have a cop.
Some of this footage is going to, or some of these files will come out from the state now that
No, the state ones are in Sacramento. Those are out. We have all of those. Okay. They're in Sacramento, and I've gone through every one of those in the course of my career. But this is all new. So this is the feds looking at their evidence, and Justice Department people not just repeating what they said. There's more in there. In that opening photo that you showed, there was an old man who was holding Sirhan up. Let me just tell you about that old man. That old man was a guy who becomes his attorney. And his name is Russell Parsons. Russell Parsons in that photo was 73 years old. And he's going to serve as the defense counsel for Sirhan. Now I'm going to read you this document, because this is from the FBI internally. Just to go over his career. They're going, who is Russell Parsons, right? 1937, Russell Parsons was initiated, which investigation was discontinued. The investigation was conducted, indicated Parsons was born in 1893, attended the University of Southern California Law School, Eric, for only 1 year, taking 2 subjects, one on which he failed. It is noted that the Martindale-Hubbell Law Directory indicates Mr. Parsons was born in 1895, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. During our investigation, it was ascertained that in 1928, warrants for Mr. Parsons' arrest were issued by Riverside, San Bernardino, Imperial Counties, California, on bad check charges. So they're going after him for bad checks. And then in 1934, he filed for bankruptcy. Individuals interviewed during the investigation, all of these different judges and everything. The guy's got 1 year of law school, and he's a complete fraud. Parsons was reportedly one of the featured speakers at a statewide conference on criminal law reform sponsored by the National Lawyers Guild, which was a communist organization, according to the House Un-American Activities Committee. 1962, information was received from the IRS in LA concerning an investigation being conducted by LA attorneys for possible income tax evasion. That's him. On the last page of this document, which I'll just read, the very last page, which is the most important. As mentioned above, Mr. Parsons has been active in criminal cases, and this Bureau's files reveal that among the individuals whom he has represented has been Joseph Fred and Alfred Sicca, who have been described in LA as LA hoodlums active in criminal activities, including such activities as bookmaking. He is a mob attorney. He is a thoroughly well-known, corrupt mob attorney who has stuff hanging over his head of criminal activity. This is who they put in place to run the trial of Sirhan Sirhan. Now, in that trial, somebody testifies, Thomas Noguchi. He gets up on the stand and begins to tell them what I just told you. And they okay, whoa, we're good here. We're good. We're gonna go to a recess, Your Honor. And Noguchi's pulled off the stand in the mid because they had to bring the coroner, but they didn't want Noguchi to say too much about anything. And so the defense counsel for Sirhan keeps saying, we acknowledge the prosecution's case. We acknowledge what they're saying. We acknowledge, because our client did it, Your Honor, and they're trying to plead insanity to no avail, because Sirhan keeps jumping up in the trial yelling, I'm not insane. I'm not insane. I have a reason for what I did. Anyway, so the defense team thoroughly infiltrated by the CIA, thoroughly infiltrated by LAPD intelligence. It's almost like they're working together with the prosecution, just to sum up that little angle on
Manson girls.
Very similar case, similar courtroom, same place, same building, same, like a year apart. It's very, very similar, and the judges are similar. Anyway, as this thing went up the ladder in the appeal process, it ended up, like I said yesterday on Dr. Drew's show, it ended up where CNN got involved in the late 90s, early 2000s, because there's a recording of the bullets being fired, and you can hear more than the amount of bullets that were in Sirhan's gun.
And it sounded different too, I think.
Yeah, and it sounded different, and they brought in these experts, and CNN said, oh, we'll buy into it. It goes all the way to the Attorney General of California to reopen the case. That's how far this got. And the Attorney General of the state of California said, not on my life are you going to open up this case again. And that, as we now know, was Kamala Harris.
The soon-to-be governor.
The soon-to-be the governor, who's going to cock-block us again.
So reopen now, folks, before she gets back in office.
Right, in between Gavin Newsom, who said, I'm not going to pardon him, going against his own parole board, where RFK Jr. and myself had successfully gotten him paroled for the first time. I think he was up for parole, I want to say 9 times. And everyone involved in the parole process kept retrying the case in front of the parole offices, which they should put big signs on the wall saying, this is not the place to retry a case. And yet, no matter what, I mean, William Pepper was involved. Every one of them really did not serve Sirhan well by trying to retry or relitigate his case in front of the parole board. It's the last thing they want. And they did it 9 times. And he got turned down until I came up with my novel approach, which, surprising to me, they agreed with. I was more shocked than anyone.
Do you think anything's going to come out of this, though? Or is he just going to sit there and die in prison and we're not moving the ball?
I don't think they're going to move the needle at this point, because the one that I did, if they didn't move it for that, again, this would have to be from RFK Jr. to override his nutty sisters with a new governor. And I don't think Kamala Harris is going to listen to RFK Jr. With his family appeal. I mean, again, the 2 sisters famously came out and said, if Sirhan's paroled, he can Uber from Pasadena to Malibu and kill me. kill us. And the 75, this is a 78-year-old man who's 5'1", is going to take an Uber from Pasadena to kill the Kennedy sisters. And Newsom said that makes sense. But now he's thinking about letting out the Menendez boys, who are completely buff and in their early 50s and could kill again, actually.
Well, okay. You've already shown one document, boom, already.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've got others. Yeah. I've got about 20.
That puts into question his guilt at all.
I'm
kind of like, what about Harmeet Dillon? Could the FBI civil rights look into this, going the opposite direction?
Absolutely.
What kind of case is this?
I believe that Harmeet Dillon can take over the case with the help if RFK Jr. speaks to her, because this is, like I said, it's a violation of civil rights, of the voting rights law of 1965, which is relatively new in 1968. But nevertheless, it's there clear as a bell. I read the document today. I mean, it is quite clear that you injure or kill a candidate. This is a Voting Rights Act violation. So they could go in under that act.
Yeah, it seems like there's enough here to really get a new trial potentially, or whatever.
The public might not agree, like this particular letter here to the President of the United States. This is June 10th, 1968. Dear Mr. President, of course, it's to, this is from a guy in Staten Island, Robert Murphy. It's a very nice letter. I just wanted to, it's very short. This animal that destroyed Senator Robert F. Kennedy must not be destroyed by due process. No matter the state or the laws of the state, this animal, this is all in caps, must be caged for the remainder of its natural life. This animal is 24 years of age. I shall pray every hour of every day that this animal will live to age 100, Eric, live with the horror of this act and in utter hopelessness of ever again being free. To provide this animal with any loophole, with any possibility of future freedom, would not only be a ghastly travesty of injustice, but an infamous crime against humanity. It's Robert Murphy. Now, the point of the matter,
got his wish. He's getting closer.
Right, except for the fact that he didn't kill anybody. Other than that, this animal, as he says, shot my friend Paul Schrade right in the forehead. How Paul Schrade had no damage to his... he was a big, strong guy, Paul Schrade, and he's the first guy shot by Sirhan. It's quite clear. You can line up all the bullets once you get into the forensics and the lining up of the bullets. It becomes quite clear where each one goes from his gun. It's not rocket science. Let me put it that way. Schrade gets shot right here, but it doesn't go that deep because it's a 22 caliber handgun, and it penetrates about 1/4 of an inch. And I mean, he goes down from it, and he's bandaged up for a while. But he said he told me he never had any long-term effects. After a couple of years, he felt completely normal. Another guy gets shot in the stomach. Another chick gets shot in the leg. A couple of the bullets go up into the ceiling. But two of them famously, and you showed that photo last week of Noguchi going to the pantry and showing two in the door jamb. And the reason those two are important is because a cop dug one out with his penknife, and they covered that up, LAPD. They then destroyed the tiles of the roof, the LAPD. They then took the door jamb that is in the photo of Noguchi showing the two bullet holes and destroyed the door jamb. And they just said, well, we don't have room for all this crap, was the excuse that the LAPD gave for destruction of evidence. Yeah, I mean, it's a massive cover-up. It is far more clear in so many ways than the case in Dallas. The case in Dallas, those guys were masters. They were so many different people involved in this, and
more of a military operation.
Military operation, very complicated. Well, some of these documents are from the 115th Military Intelligence Unit. The ones that I peeled off today, there's a lot of military docs on this, Eric, and this batch that I've seen so far. So it seems to be FBI and military intelligence and Justice Department documents so far.
Wow. Well, I mean, you've got about 9,000 and change more to go through.
Well, she said there's even more coming, if you heard that.
Yeah. She said 10,000. No, it was even more than that, I think. I thought she said 10,000. It might have been even more.
I think it's even more, but this is fun because this is a case that's not clouded by disinformation agents because they believe this is so cut and dry. In other words, they have their guy Sirhan, so there's no clouding of it. You know what I mean? They're not doing what they did with Oswald, where they had to steal the newsreel footage from the TV companies. They had to intimidate witnesses. They had to flip witnesses. This is a room with 90 people in it, all of them looking at Sirhan shooting a gun. Now, so I think they feel
they had a guy with a gun and
smoking gun with actually a smoking gun, which they didn't have with Oswald in a window. This is a completely different case. And blaming myself and others, we didn't believe that this was a real case.
Well, why would you? What are the odds that there's another person there? I mean, just logically speaking, you've got a guy. He had the gun.
Yeah.
He shot your friend Paul Schrade in the head. He shot the other people. He did boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
You had one maniac, and you got him.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Well, and once you drill into the case, though, once you start getting down into the angles and the ballistics and simply look at the autopsy report, this is so easy to discern. You don't have to be a coroner to see what's going on here. This is an open and shut case. And when you get into Thane Eugene Caesar, who is the first time wearing this security uniform for Ace Security, who's got himself a top security clearance over at Skunk Works in Burbank, and clearly an operative in the intelligence field and a killer, you now have him holding RFK's arm and walking right behind him, inches away, and RFK, to his credit, yanks Thane Eugene Caesar's tie off his neck as he goes down, spinning to hit the ground and lands on his back. Caesar will later return to get his tie, which is incredibly incriminating evidence. He will then sell the gun. He will then tell LAPD he sold the gun months before. He will then be exposed as a liar because the guy he sold the gun to, who used to work at Burbank Skunk Works with him, produces the receipt. It's like a week after the assassination. I mean, it's astounding how they covered for this guy, not for any other reason than political intelligence. It wasn't because they like the guy. They did it because he was part of an operation.
Yeah, and they didn't really love Bobby.
Oh, dude, they wouldn't even provide police protection. They wouldn't provide any protection for the guy. They literally, cleared the area, and just the Ace Security Company was dealing with the Ambassador Hotel that night. And he lied about when he started working there. He lied about his employment. Caesar, who literally just passed away a year and a half ago, they tried to extract $25,000 out of RFK Jr. just to meet with him in the Philippines. And that's Dan Moldea, the crime author, who became his handler. All of these guys have handlers. I wish I had a handler. All these guys have a handler.
Maybe soon.
Yeah, I know, but he literally becomes, it's just like Buckley and E. Howard Hunt. Moldea becomes the godfather of his children. I mean, it's the same script over and over and over again. He lives here in the Simi Valley. He goes back and forth. His wife is from the Philippines, so occasionally goes on vacation to the Philippines and comes back. But everybody knew that the killer was Thane Eugene Caesar for almost 20 years. Almost 20 years, Eric.
Well, it's actually easy to point out because there's not, same way Sirhan couldn't have done it. Really, there was only one person in place that could have done it, right?
Right. And he admits, he contradicts himself. He pulled his gun and may have fired back at one point in the interrogation from LAPD. He says he unholstered his weapon and fired at the attackers. And everybody's going, really? Then he changes it to, I never fired the gun. So he's contradicted himself on whether he fired the gun, which was a copy of Sirhan's gun, by coincidence. It looks exactly the same as Sirhan's gun.
It was
and
friendly fire.
The gun that he sells is almost exactly the same gun, and he claims he sold it in February of 1968. Turns out he sold it in July of 1968, just a month after the assassination. Anyway, it's pretty much an open and shut case, but it would be great to have it on the congressional record, to have it in the National Archives, to prove that they were corrupt in their dealings with Sirhan. You know, most of these people got promoted up the ladder to Supreme Court justices of California. There's all kind. Some of them are dead, obviously, because it's 1968. But
sure,
you know, nevertheless, it's never too late for the truth. I mean, it may be too late for justice, but it's never too late for the truth, Eric.
I could see it getting out too, because you could pick on California.
Yeah,
you know, versus the actual U.S. government covering it up. You can say, "Oh, look what these yokels did," because we have many cases of states being held in contempt, or or whatever.
That's a good angle. That's a good angle. The feds at this time would make a lot of hay showing a corrupt Attorney General of the United States, Kamala Harris, Attorney General of California, rather, Kamala Harris at that time. I mean, goes all the way in reverse to her, where DAs have moved up the ladder in California to incredible promotions who worked on the case. John Minor. I mean, there's many others in the case. I mean, but the real story, you know, really goes down to Baxter Ward. And Baxter Ward's story has never been told. And we're going to get into that at some point in an episode just on Baxter Ward. And I'll just tell you this, Baxter Ward was the highest paid newsman in TV news. There was a guy on NBC named Tom Brokaw who made less than him. This is local news. His ratings were the highest in LA, which was the largest market in the country. And Baxter Ward was on ABC. He was on other channels later, but he made his bones on ABC News here in LA. He quits his job to run for the job of county supervisor on the Board of Supervisors of Los Angeles, defeats a guy, and he becomes a county supervisor simply to hold hearings on the assassination of RFK. And one of the craziest political stories of all time, he holds hearings here in LA, the only hearings ever held, and he brings in Thomas Noguchi to show with charts and arrows and pointers and everything else the exact autopsy that we described under oath and in open testimony here in Los Angeles. That story of Baxter Ward is a little bit later, a photo of Baxter Ward. I mean, they try to blow up his house, blow up his car. They tried to kill him. I mean, they really did a number on Baxter Ward. And he was the one that brought the metro line to Los Angeles, by the way, separate side issue.
His train worked.
His train worked, yeah. The train that he was in love with trains, Baxter Ward. His kid's still around. His kid's, I think, a stunt pilot or something.
All right. Well, that's it's great progress, and I could see where you say it's like Christmas, because this is like Christmas, and you don't know what the gifts are going to be.
I don't know. I'm opening up the envelopes, the wrapper, and saying, "Oh, dear Lord, this is a good one." Whoa! But you got to know what you're looking for. Like regular people are not going to understand this. I mean, I know this case inside and out. So for me, it's like I go, "Oh my God, look at this! Huh, who knew? Who knew? This is great." They knew the gun was 2 inches from the head. On day 2,
which is horrible. I mean, that just shows that they completely, at a minimum, botched. But
well, they tried in the case and in the press to get Sirhan closer, and they tried to intimidate the witnesses who said he never got that close. In fact, witnesses have testified in Shane's film. Shane, the Irish guy, Shane O'Sullivan, who did a documentary called RFK Must Die. And he interviews these people who said they were intimidated by LAPD not to talk to anyone. That was similar to Dallas. What was different here was that the 2 guys in charge of it, charge of special unit, Senator SUS, the investigation, were Hank Hernandez, a sergeant, and Lieutenant Manny Pena. They were both CIA. We now know 100%. They were trained at Camp Peary. They were sent to South America on occasion. They both were Latino. Hernandez was an expert on manipulating the lie detector machine for interrogation purposes. And he does that to a young 17-year-old Sandra Serrano, making her break down and cry. And one of the documents I just sent you moments ago involves Sandra Serrano. I just wanted to just for a second. Let me just see here. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I don't know about that one, but there's one that's June 24th, 1968.
It's June 6th.
Yeah, there's a June 24th document that says assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy. It kind of looks like this. 20-year-old Sandra Serrano claimed on television. Sandra Serrano was immediately interviewed on NBC News by Sander Van Oker, who was one of the legendary newsmen. He went live right after the event, right there from the ballroom, moments after the assassination. This is one of the documents I found this morning. Senator Kennedy was shot and claimed that immediately after the shooting, a woman in a polka dot dress ran by her shouting, "We shot him, we shot him." According to Ms. Serrano, the woman had entered the Ambassador Hotel prior to the shooting, accompanied by two men, one of whom she identified as Sirhan Bashar Sirhan. Extensive investigation has failed to substantiate her story. That's not true. On June 21st, 1968, after being afforded a polygraph examination and an extensive interview by Los Angeles, California Police Department, Ms. Serrano admitted that her story was a complete fabrication. Now, that is a simplistic version of what Hank Hernandez did. This went on for hours of him wearing her down, yelling and screaming at her, her breaking down, crying. It is brutal to listen to, and it was saved by LAPD as a historic example on how to break a witness who that you perceive to be lying. And this girl, it's hard to listen to what they did to Sandra Serrano. And her only claim was that she witnessed the girl in the polka dot dress, which many others have. And she went national, and that's why she had to be destroyed. So that was kind of fascinating. But the previous document that you just showed, the LA Police Department has issued the one you just showed before that, Eric, LAPD has issued an all-points bulletin for a female companion, age 23 to 27, height 5'6", who was believed to have been accompanying Sirhan Bashar Sirhan prior to the assassination. So internally, this is from the 115th Military Intelligence Group. If you look at number 1 on the top, Eric, this is a military intelligence document highlighted there. That's the one I was referring to. So they're looking for the girl in the polka dot dress. And a week or two later, they will find a plastic bag alongside in an alleyway, right where Oliver Stone's office is, by the way, by coincidence. He didn't have the office yet, but it was right in the alleyway near where his office is off Olympic. In that plastic bag was a blonde wig, pantyhose, high heels, and a polka dot dress. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In an alleyway.
And that's in these documents showing up?
Not yet. No. That's it. I have that in another, my own document. I haven't found that here, but I have that documented. But anyway, to make a long story short, there's a lot of meat on this bone, and a lot more meat on the bone in terms of reopening a case than the JFK case, especially with the documents that were released. These are far more relative, far more pristine, and far more revolutionary in terms of the historical record, of what's out there.
Well, and it appears, though, that the other one she said that she was going to release, maybe the family is having an influence, but the MLK files don't seem to be coming out this week.
Nope, they're going to fight this to the death, bro, because in there are the audio tapes of him having sex with girls with Ralph Abernathy, as reported in Reverend Ralph Abernathy's autobiography. And the wiretaps are extremely deadly to MLK's pristine image. Again, this is just image. So I don't understand the legality of the United States government withholding, audio documents of a citizen who they believed was being influenced by Levinson, who was a communist. One of his advisors was an American communist named Levinson. So I don't know. I mean, they're going to go to court to stop it. I guarantee you. They're going to put immense pressure. You're going to hear this Betty Crockett chick going berserk on the Luna Committee. and they will be screaming bloody murder if they try to release those documents.
Yeah, speaking of Luna, when is this going to be in front of her illustrious committee?
Yeah, this I would like to talk to her about, because I don't want to talk to her, but I could talk to the congressional record by putting this on the congressional. I could give a shit about her. But if there is a committee, it would be great to get this information onto the congressional record, Eric.
Yeah, well, like that first page right there. Just on day 2, LAPD said that it was here. Yeah. Here's a picture of everybody's placement. How can that happen?
Right.
Boom. There. That's
well. There's plenty of other stuff, but I mean, you could get into the history of the case and everything else. But the reason it's important is because it sets the stage for all the other assassinations separate from the Kennedy one. I mean, there's Malcolm X and there's others, Martin Luther King. So yeah, it's important historically for sure.
Somebody's asking,
and it's also important to his son, who this is of great importance to his son.
Somebody's asking if it was Eugene Braden that was at both the JFK and RFK assassinations.
He wasn't he just lived in LA, but he was at the first one. He happens to live in Beverly Hills, so they brought him in for questioning.
Okay, well, he was the one person though that was kind of
I mean, he's in this thing. It's peripheral because this is his permanent residence was in Beverly Hills, but who knows what he was involved in? He was involved.
So he's no Todd Lincoln.
He's no Todd Lincoln, but it is unusual. He's the one guy tied in some way to both assassinations. However, if he lived in New York and was in LA, I'd say, but something to it. But he actually lived in Beverly Hills and did a lot of weird stuff in Beverly Hills, including marrying and being a gold digger and marrying wealthy divorcees and widows. That was like his specialty. That con.
Smart guy. It worked for him. All right, let me go ahead and get a couple here. Luis Rodriguez is a new member. Mo Bishop is saying, just got Vince Palomare's book, The Plot to Kill President Kennedy in Chicago. Must have references for the JFK assassination. Tons of printers references.
Printers?
I'm not sure.
What are printers?
Dr. Evil said, April 18th, 1775. 250 years ago, the ride of Paul Revere, and Mark was there.
It's an interesting thing. He kept saying the British are coming. I thought he was saying the Yiddish are coming.
Well, you misheard.
I misheard him. I said, oh my God, all the Jews are coming. Let's go. And he said, the Yiddish are coming. The Yiddish are coming. Turns out it was the British are coming.
Yeah, it's easy to get confused. Very easy to get confused. And Pamela Clifton saying, happy Friday, guys. What a great day. Hope the new files will help him. Well, I'm sure they'll help RFK Jr. just to give more information about what happened.
He knows what I know. I mean, he knows everything because he was one day, just to fill this in, one day they went to Paul Schrader's house and he brought his kids, and Paul Schrader invited him to his house in the hills over here in back of me. And that's where I was going to visit Paul Schrader. I mean, when I went to the parole hearing, I was representing Paul Schrader, who was getting on in health at that point. So, but he told me, and RFK Jr. brought his kids. How many there are, I have no idea at this point. But he brought his kids, and he asked Paul Schrader to explain in detail everything that happened to their grandfather that night. So Paul Schrader went in, explained to all of RFK Jr.'s kids the entire history of what I just explained to the audience.
I'm really glad that they had a living witness to.
That's what he wanted. That's exactly what he wanted.
Because, I mean, he lived to be quite old. I mean, but still, he's gone now. I don't know what to think of the super chat. I have a really bad feeling. So I think this is along your time. Is this some anti-Semitic BS, or is it supposed to be humor?
Yeah, no, I don't. It's just some joke, and it's just another joke.
Okay, I guess I'll read it up. I belong to the Shul of Satan every Shabbos. We have a black minyan. Our baby boys have a black bris. On Passover, we have a black cedar. The founders is Anton Levinsky, who we call the Black Rebbe. We study the Satanic Talmud. I don't know.
It's a joke. It's an anti-Semitic joke.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Please don't super chat.
That was really great. That was great. Don't you feel better now, bro? With your $20, you piece of shit. You feel better?
If I know how to identify him, I'm not even going to show.
I don't blame
but don't
you.
bother sending a super chat with
I don't
bullshit.
blame you. I mean, that's how much their Jew hatred goes. They're willing to pay to play now to get on the air, and thank God for people like Barnes, who's willing to go to war with these cats.
Well, he encourages it. He said, "Yeah, go ahead. You can, if you want to pay."
Oh, if you want to pay, yeah. That's his inside joke. That's his inside joke. But we do have other news, right?
There apparently news did happen this week. Except I will say, we may be finally going into the weekend with a little bit slower of news, or maybe over the weekend, like Trump maybe taking Easter off. I don't know.
Oh no.
Who knows?
Well, Vance is at the Vatican, but the news marches on.
Oh, yeah, he's at the Vatican. And
dude, I watched this Carmelo Anthony case yesterday with that minister out there in Texas, and it was pointed out that the minister, the family spokesperson, has arrest record of 70 arrests. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, he
what is the deal with this guy? How could you have 70 arrests?
I don't know, but you got to pick. I guess Al Sharpton was off this week. I mean, I don't know,
or Crump or something. He's not their lawyer; he's their family spokesperson. This is the opposes the reveal of the secret records. Gee, why would you be opposed to that? They're secret. Why would you be opposed? Because they know what it is. They know what it is.
Right.
They know it was sealed in 1978 by a judge that had no right to seal it.
I don't know. Very, very weird case.
But the father showed up of the victim, Eric, and they called the police to remove him from the press conference. And the father is one of these super Christians who immediately forgave the kid.
I know. I remember that. The day it happened, he forgave. What? But he's feeling less forgiving now, though, I think, as time's rolling on.
Well, this was from yesterday. I don't know how less forgiving he was. The footage I saw, which I don't know if it was from yesterday, but he showed up and his arm was in a sling for some reason. I'm not sure what that was, probably punching a hole in the wall. But he said, yeah, God has to judge him and I forgive him. And I'm, again, what is...
Well, I know he said that the day it happened.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That's just
he really did. And I was impressed by that because I'm like, my God, how many, fathers...
they're not going to seek the death penalty because he's 17, and they're not going to seek life in prison without parole because he's 17. I don't know why he's not tried as an adult. This is done quite often in these types of heinous murder cases, and the kid is 17 and a half. It's not like he's 13.
Yeah, and again, I don't know
and it's Texas
thing. Yeah, there's controversy about the bail and different things, but now, to his credit, Nate looked it up, and that bail is not unheard of for that, especially in the area. Apparently, it's a.
Well, why would a judge knock it down from $1 million to $250? What's it to her?
Apparently, it's a very, very, very liberal area.
No, I'm shocked.
Let criminal, they let people out. They're very generous with their with the bail in that area.
I think she's an Obama judge, but I could be wrong. Now, you're saying Letitia James might be in trouble, Eric.
Yes. Tish James apparently has houses in Virginia, and kind of crazy stuff with her. The general bit is apparently she has 2 houses in Virginia, one of which she said is her main residence. I don't know how she's living in Virginia and showing up every day to work as the Attorney General for New York, but she's obviously got a good travel plan.
Well, that's disqualification right there. Giuliani was on last night saying he's known her since she was 18, when she must have been part of a high school government group or something. And he said she was a despicable person at 18. It was kind of funny by Giuliani, but under New York State Constitution, she has to be removed, is what he said last night.
Well, it gets crazier, and there's a statute of limitations that prevents it, but when she bought one of her houses, she co-signed with her husband, who was her father. She
Right.
claimed her father was her husband. So, I mean,
well, not only that,
look out Ilhan Omar, you
the
know.
Brooklyn townhouse she downgraded the amount of apartments in the building from
So
six to
wait a minute.
5. What?
So she liked to downgrade the worth of property.
Yes, she did.
Trump. No, it's
yeah,
so
no,
much
it's extremely Trumpian, because the guy who did the forensic accounting is a guy named, you can't make this up. This is Sam Antar. Now, Sam Antar is a guy we grew up with in New York. He went to federal prison for white collar crime. He then came out, worked with the FBI, has a forensic white collar crime website, and he is the CFO of Crazy Eddie. One of the great New York stories of all time is the Crazy Eddie commercials. And every New Yorker from the 70s and 80s knows these late night commercials. Our prices are insane. This is his company, and he is the ultimate New Yorker, and he's now going to take down the Attorney General of New York.
So Crazy Eddie's going to take him down.
Here it is. Go ahead. Just run this for a second.
Sale ever. Get anything and everything in stereo equipment. Get it all now during Crazy Eddie's greatest stereo sale ever. Crazy Eddie. His prices are insane.
Insane. Okay, so
get those earmuffs off and listen to this. Crazy Eddie's Christmas blowout blitz is going on now with the lowest sale prices ever on receivers, speakers, turntables, compact disc players, stereo rack systems, anything and everything in audio equipment. Remember, we are not undersold. We will not be undersold. We cannot be undersold, and we mean it. You don't have to ski cross country to get the lowest sale prices on audio equipment, because Crazy Eddie's Christmas audio blowout blitz is going on now at a Crazy Eddie superstore near you. Crazy Eddie, his prices are.
Okay, so this family, he was a cousin, there was a son, there was a father. They got busted for tax fraud or tax evasion or bookkeeping for what they did. So he made himself into an expert, which is what he was. And he, on his own, separate from Trump, as a private citizen, dove headlong into the documents of Letitia James. And he is the one who's come out with every single mortgage fraud and things that she's done illegally this particular week. He's making the rounds on TV now, but he's an American hero for doing this on his own. So this has now been turned over to the Justice Department. We'll see if Pam Bondi pursues this. This is kind of a slam dunk layup. This guy did all of her work for this retarded attorney general. Gave her all the documents. They have all the fraud. This is not like Trump, Eric. This is the attorney general who said that no one is above the law. Well, they both said it. Both Letitia James and Pam Bondi have said it.
And here we go.
And here we go.
She can fulfill that expectation.
Right, because they're already crying. This is a minor crime, minor paperwork, minor this. Wasn't so minor when Trump did it, was it?
No. That was a novel prosecution. So go figure. All right. Well, another story I had pulled up is the well-played move by the Trump team with that idiot senator that decided to go to El Salvador because he wants to, comfort the MS-13 guy, the Maryland man. We'll call him Maryland man.
He's a Maryland man.
That's right. He's a Maryland man. But however,
Maryland father. He's Maryland father.
Right. But here's a Maryland mother.
Oh, Jesus.
And Patty Morin, well, her daughter, I believe, had 4 children of her own.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she met her end by another Maryland man. And that senator in question, well, he seemed to forget to call her. He seemed to never say a word to her.
It really is shocking. It really is shocking.
Resident who lost her child. So, he is going to go all the way to El Salvador to comfort.
Well, he met with him. He did get to meet with him. I don't know.
Margaritas. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it because, First of all, they don't perceive gang members to be anything on the left. Gang members are completely fixable. Half of them are former gang members. I mean, we have a guy, Antonio Villagrosa, who was mayor of LA, who was a former gang member, who's covered with tats from top to bottom. They do not care about former or current gang members. This guy clearly declared by 2 federal courts to be a member of MS-13, and it was part of his defense not to be deported back to El Salvador
because of a rival gang.
Because of a rival gang that would have killed him as an MS-13 member. You can't make this up, Eric.
Yeah, well, fortunately, the polls, we always enjoy watching Harry here. They, the CNN.
Deport all undocumented immigrants. Voters favoring the government trying to deport all 11 million of them. Back in 2016, just 38% of voters wanted the government to try to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Compared to where we are in 2025, 56%, the majority. The American people have come a long way on this issue, much closer to Donald Trump. And I think
let me point out, this is not undocumented criminal immigrants.
No, it's undocumented immigrants.
Thank you. The undocumented criminal immigrants is like 85%, of which he fits into that wonderful block that the American people want to get rid of, and the Democratic Party want to make him the new head of the DNC as a spokesperson. He has, this is great, his wife, of course, has a restraining order against him for beating her repeatedly, and she was trotted out by the DNC because she is now getting money from Give, Send, Go, Eric. So she put out a photo of him with his arm around her, blocking on his hand his MS-13 tattoo, wonderfully found by Andy No, the reporter out of Portland today on X, showing the right hand of the gang member that it said MS-13 on his hand. I don't know. What else do you need? An official membership card? I don't get how much you need to do this. He was also retained by Tennessee state troopers with 7 people, 7 girls in a car traveling from Maryland to Texas for interstate sex trafficking. And he was released after a phone call by the FBI. The FBI.
I'm curious too. One of the questions, there's like, being a gang member isn't necessarily a crime, but I'm thinking about it. It's like, I think it depends on the gang. Don't a lot of gangs have a blood-in principle?
No.
They have to be a crime to be part of the gang?
It's irrelevant now because they've been declared a terrorist organization.
Right.
That makes that whole argument moot. That whole argument is now moot. They've been declared a terrorist organization by an executive order. So, good luck with the saying that he's a gang member in the Boy Scouts or something, because that is not. And the courts decided that he was a gang member. It was his defense that he was MS-13. It's insane. Anyway, the whole thing's insane. The left is making up stories like I've never seen them go to the mat. Hollywood storylines of what this guy really is, with lies that are some of the biggest lies they've ever told.
Well, maybe we could build a plaza. Didn't they get rid of the BLM in DC? We can create a new one for him.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some new statues just set near George Floyd statues.
Speaking of money raised and charges, did you see how much Mangione has raised?
Was it 950,000?
Yeah, it's almost $1 million. And then that nutty Taylor Lorenz tape you were showing last week of her love for him. And
she went on Hannity and actually got grilled a little bit.
I saw that. Yeah. So
She's
there's
so
4.
creepy.
Yeah. Wow. She's so fucking nuts. There's 4 federal death penalty related charges that the Justice Department listed. But does that mean they're going to try the case and not Alvin Bragg?
I think both.
That's
well,
weird.
I talked to Nate, and Nate said that was actually genius. He said that because they're actually getting him on the Rittenhouse thing, and I didn't realize it, but because it was stalking.
Oh, stalking too. Yeah.
There's 2 charges of stalking in different states. So because he was following him around and then executing him, or executed him, taking the gun across the state lines. Remember Rittenhouse crossed state lines?
Yep.
Well, once they did all that, the stalking and all that, then that brought it to the federal level. And Nate said it is novel, but it is pretty damn clever, and it can work. So I'll take back.
Well, that gonna be
was nuts for it. Maybe not.
It's a question of jury selection, isn't it, in this case? Because if he gets a liberal young girl jury, which is what they're going to go for in New York, of Bobby Soxers to put the Frank Sinatra twist on it, he could walk on this and, you know, maybe marry one of them once he gets out.
Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I've never seen somebody treated like such a hero. You know, it's creepy. It's like they're acting like Charlie, like the Manson girls, but they already knew Charlie.
Oh, the closest I could think of was Charlie Starkweather, the subject of the movie Badlands with Martin Sheen, where he had Bobby Soxer groupies and was hung by the neck, or I forget if it was hung or electrocuted. He killed all these different people in his spree with the girl friend who turned against him to save her own life. But he had all kinds of groupies and 2 movies.
Yeah, and that was a Bruce Springsteen song I actually liked.
Yeah, of course.
Nebraska, right? Yeah.
Nebraska, yeah. But it was about Charlie Starkweather, who really was the first famous mass murderer in American mass murdering history.
And if you read the case, it's like, yeah, hang him. He was sick. I mean, he just went in, blew away convenience store clerks. And I mean, it's just a total thug.
Yeah. By the way, I don't think we're getting our Easter ceasefire. I think the EU has gotten what they want, and it's an open-ended war. I think there's an article today saying Trump is going to walk away from this whole thing because they
signaled that.
Yeah, they have gotten what they wanted. They're going to go it alone without us to an open-ended war against Russia. They're going to raise their own army. They're going to put in $800 billion of 800 billion euros into fighting the Russians with a European army or a proxy army that they'll put into Ukraine of illegal aliens or something. Maybe you can get citizenship if you in the EU if you fight and survive. But there's nothing Trump can do about it because they are working against him behind the scenes to keep this bloody meat grinder of a war going.
Yeah, well, and I think they were talking about it on two-way, and Spicer said that was Rubio saying, "Hey, Zelensky, you better come to the table or you're on your own."
Well, I don't think he's on his own. I think they're going to get what they want, which is their war on their own. You know, I mean, it's sad, but what are you going to do, Eric? I mean, the EU is obviously the EU is running him now. We were running him. Now they're running him. And they're just throwing monkey wrench after monkey wrench into the negotiations on purpose. They're not going to sign a ceasefire. I thought this was an easy no-brainer, slam dunk. But then I didn't think that they would be this bold, the EU. I really did not see this coming.
Well, things are falling apart there. And,
well, I didn't see what the Irish Parliament was going to do, and apparently that's coming. They're going to vote to block Conor McGregor for running for president of Ireland.
Well, you know what? You were talking about this with Dr. Drew, and I thought that was interesting. And the Mike Benz, the USAID money, etc. And I got the impression what you were saying was essentially all the external money is gone, so they have to go to draconian measures. They have to just they can't finesse it behind the scenes. They have to literally block them, arrest them, do whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's where we are. That's where we are. Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain to him. I don't know if he got it, but that's kind of where we are worldwide. They're now going to imprison Marie Le Pen. They're going to imprison the Romanian president-elect. They're going to imprison Bolsonaro in Brazil. They're going to block Conor McGregor from running. They're going to lock up people again. I was looking at videos this morning of more Brits being incarcerated for bad tweets. and at some point something's going to give, Eric.
Well, see if you agree with me. I don't know if we've talked about it on here before, but I think Trump should offer the people in Britain who are under duress the same deal he offered to the South African
we talked about
farmers.
it here. We did. You brought it up. I agreed with you. I think it's a great idea. It would shove a shiv into the back of some of these cats and just declare them to be repressive regimes, not unlike members of the Eastern European Warsaw Pact countries, which is what they are. This is the Soviet European Union. The similarities are breathtaking. There's probably 100 things they have in common. Central bank, 5-year agricultural plan, ethnic states with no voting rights, which are the different countries. They rule over them, non-elected board, ruling out of Brussels. It is a complete Soviet-style economy, body politic economy, and everything else. And we have to declare it as such. The new Cold War is us versus the EU. The Chinese, to their credit, are smart enough to stay out of this and just deal with their own economic situation and not get involved in this. It's probably the best thing that ever happened to them.
Well, they have to deal with their own. I mean, they have a looming crisis. Like, it's unbelievable. But yeah.
By the way, the crime in England is, and this is to our British friends, the crime in England is called aggravated communication. That's the legal term.
That's how you know it's socialist, by the way, because the first thing they change is language.
Yeah. Aggravated communication, terms. AKA a bad tweet. And you get incarcerated there, video after video. By the way, in LA, here in these schools that we have here, the university system here, which is overwhelmingly filled with Chinese students. Some of them don't speak a word of English. Over 1,000 international visas of international students have already been revoked. In LA alone, Eric.
Good.
Right?
I'm fine with that.
Wow. Do they get their money back? Or is that's a bridge too far? Do they get their tuition money?
I don't know. Let them have it. I don't care. I personally, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, no foreign money.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it out of there, because that's what's propping up a lot of the ugliness is,
as you pointed out, apparently it's not it's not APAC. It's not JUPAC. It's Middle East PAC. Oman and Bahrain and all these different countries giving millions upon millions to American universities, and also at the same time propping up these protesters that, put it this way, we didn't see Hasidic Jews protesting with fur hats. We saw a lot of black and white checkered kerchiefs protesting, and the money was coming from these Middle East countries that Eric mentioned last week.
Yeah, maybe some podcasters are getting some cash too.
Ooh. I'll tell you something that's getting funded by Soros, which is this Supreme Court case that's being taken up by the Supreme Court, I think next week, about birthright citizenship. They want to keep it the way it is, and Soros has poured millions of dollars into the court case itself, into the lawyers who are going up against the Trump administration next week in the Supreme Court.
Well, from what I understand, the birthright citizenship, and even Barnes is kind of on it. Yeah. It's one of those that they really screwed up the communication, and they did not, instead of having it as a limited window, as in saying, okay, post-slavery, we had stateless people, and it was really meant for the stateless people who were here, as in no origin country. So right now, the birthright citizenship, if a couple comes over from another country and they have a kid here, they're not stateless. That kid's naturally a citizen of their country. It's their kid, etc. But when slavery ended, the slaves were stateless. And that's what it was about, saying everybody who was born here automatically became a citizen to end all of that. And I think because they didn't specify the stateless, it kind of got themselves in a box, and then they've ruled every time saying, oh, they're born here. What are you going to do?
I'm going to stick my neck out and say 5-4 decision is going to end birthright citizenship. And Clarence is going to address what you're addressing. Clarence is going to write the majority opinion on this thing.
That would be good, and I think
I
the
hope so.
clarity-
I got a feeling
everything in the
they're
future.
they're taking it for a reason, and they're going
Right.
to change horses right now. Now, speaking of polling, I don't know if you saw the poll out of California that I sent you the other day. Apparently, somebody by the name of Kamala Harris is polling at a rate of 31%, despite what Mark Halpern is crowing about on two-way. Katie Porter is second at 8%. Former Congresswoman Katie Porter, who has said publicly if Kamala Harris comes into the race, she will, of course, drop out, which is
like a good communist.
That's a good communist. She will drop out, which would give her Harris her 8%, which would make her about 39%. The guy who's a distant third is this nutty sheriff out of San Bernardino at like 4%. Hence why I've been saying it is a walk-in position that nobody who's a politician, this is like cocaine to them. She will delay her announcement until the day of the legal sign up, last day that you could sign up legally, avoid the press, and become the next governor of the state of California.
What do you think about Stefanik and New York governor?
I think she could walk in too. I think Stefanik has a much better chance than anyone in New York.
Really? Okay.
I think so. The upstate is all red. There's people in Staten Island who love her. There's people in Queens who love her. She'll lose Manhattan. She'll lose parts of Brooklyn and the Bronx. But the upstate will be pure red.
So maybe not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Can you?
Well, you don't have to give up your seat to run for governor of New York. So
no, please don't give it up.
This chick clearly.
But you know what I'd love is if she could win it and then
House.
appoint her replacement.
Right. She clearly does not want to be in the House of Representatives.
No, I mean, well, remember Matt Gaetz, and when he was talking to Bill Maher on Club Random, he's like, "Yeah, you kind of grow out of it. You don't want to be in there."
She
forever.
does not want to be there. She does not want to be there. Now, somebody who also doesn't want to be there is the drummer for this band, the New Pornographers. I thought this was like a Lampoon story, Eric. I couldn't believe my luck this morning finding this drummer, which I have a Canadian rock band with the name the New Pornographers.
Right, man. Getting caught with CP because we can't say the word.
Right. Well, they could read the actual word. You can't make this up. I mean, how far did the Canadian police have to look? They go, "Oh, look at this. It's a Canadian band called the Child Pornographers." How ironic.
That's a nominative determination, like Andrew Weiner or whatever. Yeah, that is pretty good. All right, switching back to China, I almost went to bring it up.
Go ahead.
Interesting situation because one issue I've got to bring up is this whole, we're worried about Doge, we're trying to save money, but yet somehow the Defense Department can't pass an audit and it becomes $1 trillion defense budget. Does anybody else see a problem here with what's going on?
How do you not pass an audit? You just, whatever the audit is the audit. It's not a pass fail. You know what I mean? We're coming in to audit you. Okay.
Well, and we're saying we're wasting money left and right. So let's raise the budget from 800 million or whatever.
I see what you're saying. But I never understood how they could fail an audit. Either you do an audit or you don't. Whatever you audit is the audit.
Yeah.
Like, what is the failure there? You go and you audit and you go, you're never going to believe the amount of corruption and spending that we found. That's your audit. Did somebody stop it? Is that why?
I don't know, but he did it like 3 years in a row or something.
Yeah, I know.
It's just ridiculous. But
it's bizarre. It's
one of the things that we want in the military is because drone warfare is really the new warfare. It's a very big deal. And well, here's the problem. All of our parts are made by China.
Oh, that's got to end. This has got to end. We knew this before. This is just crazy. They make everything: aspirin, vitamins. They have the largest smelting facilities. They make our bullets, for Christ's sakes.
I know. Think about it. We'd have to go to war with them and say, "Hey, can you ship us some bullets?
So we can fire
them at us?"
How about if we start? By the way, I'm hearing from intelligence sources that the Chinese have recalled American Chinese residents back to China for some military activity and retraining.
It's
they're going into a military footing, and it could be just a saber rattling, but they have recalled tens of thousands of Chinese who live here to return to the motherland.
I think that, well, again, they're in a very tight time schedule with their population and everything else. It's not a good sign because our population is already shrinking, rapidly, and is about to collapse. And that Mao statement that they released, I don't think that was to us. I think that was to their own people.
Could be.
Saying, you get your ass in line. Things are going to get rough, and you know what happened last time. So
I think they did away with their one child per family.
Rule. They did, but it doesn't matter because the effect's already there.
It's an all-male society.
Right. But the funny part is that all of these societies, Japan has a population crisis. Korea has a population crisis. China not only has a population crisis, but then they had a policy that made that crisis, set it on fire. It's even worse.
Well, they may need a war so people could die so they can repopulate.
I don't know.
What they really need is the Groubert sex robot. That's for all those men. And Japan, obviously, they're taking care of themselves. The Chinese are probably making it right now. They're undercutting my business. But they'll
steal your IP if you make it there.
They'll steal my IP if I make it there. So I'm afraid to even go public with this, which we're going public. We're going to be ringing the bell on Wall Street on the floor next week, which is going to be a lot of fun for the Groubert Sex Robot LLC.
Okay, I think it's a good idea. This has nothing to do with space robots or sex robots, but
Katy Perry?
You knew my segue. That's
kind of interesting. I was just guessing. I had no idea.
Well, I was thinking space bimbos going well with the.
Look at this one. Look at this.
This is them reporting. This is the strong level reporting. You had Neil Armstrong in '69.
It's dark. It's like death.
And I'm so proud of us. I really am proud of me.
Flowers for me, I believe, are like God's laughter and God's smile. And I brought a daisy because I have so much love for my daughter Daisy, and I have so much love for Mother Earth.
It just says to me, if I can do this, I was telling these guys, I might even now get my ears pierced. I've never gotten my ears pierced.
Oh, way to go.
That hurts.
I hope they can see the unity that we modeled and replicate that and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space for the future.
Is part of,
10 out of 10 review.
This is part of my new movie that I'm working on because of these bold women. It's called The Twat Stuff. And the movie's coming out in the fall. It's about these women who somehow get into the space program together and go to Mars. By the way, I don't know if CBS paid for her ticket, but the ticket to go up for 8 minutes in inner space, not outer space, inner space, about 61 miles. Alan Shepard went up 112 miles roughly into outer space. The first man ever to go into outer space, who was an American. Gagarin went up as a Soviet cosmonaut. But
right, get that right, because the chat went crazy last time when you said first man. They were like, first American.
Whatever. Good luck over there, chat. You know what the best thing that Mark Halpern does in that show is he tells all guests to ignore the chat. Does it every single day, which is what I believe, and I always do it anyway. The reality of it is the ticket that Bezos is charging to go for this 8-minute thrill ride is $26 million. I mean, not 2 million, not 500,000. I don't know if CBS paid for this or how Gayle King got on board, but I know how Sanchez got on board. That's her squeeze. Katy Perry has the money. Maybe she just bought a ticket. I don't know who paid for this thing. However, in the future, Bezos says it's going to be $26 million to go up for 8 minutes of weightlessness and then come down. I don't know who's going to sign up for this. Maybe there'll be people. Who am I to say? I didn't predict Amazon would be a company years ago. I didn't see that market coming. So maybe he knows there's people out there. All it takes is 1 or 2 to pay for your whole nutty operation, I think, Eric.
I think you could pay like $50,000 to get the same effect in a plane.
Hollywood uses a plane for it. They go up the same little bit under to weightlessness. And when you're shooting a space movie, they bring in the camera and they bring in the crew, and they're weightless and they're filming, and they go up a number of times. They just keep going like this,
Right.
around to reach that height where you're weightless, and then they shoot the weightless scene. So this is nothing new. This is nothing new what these bitches did.
Right. Well, the irony is that the transportation secretary said, no, they cannot identify as an astronaut. They didn't qualify.
Yeah, this obsession with this feminist part of this thing. Does anybody remember Sally Ride? I mean, what is the deal here with this? This is the flavor of the month, women in space. I mean, I think we did this in the Reagan administration.
Oh, yeah, sadly, we did too with somebody who blew up. Also, did you see the footage of it? I don't have it pulled, but Jeff Bezos, they had opened the capsule door from the inside and they closed it really quickly. And then so the filming could come, but he could rip the door off.
Well, I saw some photos that Katy Perry was on the outside and they put her back in. She had already gone out to take a leak in the bushes.
She was like a daisy.
Went back in with her daisy.
Looking for a daisy. It is.
You know what's amazing to me? The lack of self-awareness.
Not just the quote unquote right, but Hollywood's mocking the shit out of them.
Right, but I'm saying what's shocking to me in all these different things is the lack of self-awareness that possibly you could be mocked. I don't get how they don't get it.
Well, because all they have around them are enablers. And
it must be the most incredible enablers on the earth, because a retard could say, hey, look at the news, Mom. You're being mocked because you're not an astronaut. Oh, you're right. I better shut
Those are just the haters. We don't listen to haters.
All right.
Haters.
Okay. Good luck. Keep doing it.
All right. Speaking of haters, did you see this case with this idiot judge ruled that a school can ban XX protests over girls in male sports? So what they've been wearing are these wristbands, as you see in that picture. They just say XX to protest the trans athletes who are infiltrating or taking over the female sport.
How many of these trans athletes can there be?
Enough to screw over a lot of
females. Is every trans person an athlete? Is that their goal? I mean, it seems like every one of them is an athlete.
Well, I think that it's, sorry to say, it's kind of like the fencing. You saw that with USA Fencing, right? That the two competitors at the end are both trans.
Again, is every one of them becoming trans just
because they're beta males? Sure, why not? It's males taking over the sport. They can't make it on their own.
Yeah,
and now they can just move over and not only take it over and be the best athlete, but then they're celebrated. Oh, look at them! And by the way, I haven't seen any commitment from them. I didn't see, like Leah Thomas or whatever, one of the most famous ones, a swimmer who stands up, looks like Michael Phelps next to a tiny female.
Mark Spitz.
Who's sitting there with a sock inside the suit, shall we say?
Is that true?
Well, look, let's just say that there is definitely an appendage there. And also, according to some of the female athletes who were there, did not stop the relationship with females. So it's like all the benefits, if you will. It's sort of like my favorites are the trans prisoners, the male criminals who are saying I'm trans, and then they go impregnate.
Dude, I would do the same thing if I got convicted for 5-7 years for some. I would just go, nah, I'm transitioning, and I'll get there someday, but right now I've got to be in the women's prison.
But what I kind of want to see, and maybe you could write up this script treatment, is you do that, right? Maybe it'd be good Twilight Zone. It's like, oh yeah, I'm trans. You'd be like, okay, we've got a new policy. We'll put you in the surgery now. Wait,
I got a better one. I would use Eddie Murphy. I would use Eddie Murphy and just make it an Eddie Murphy comedy, and have him, go into prison for something. And then he just, is a wise ass who decides to, they put me in with the women. I'm trans. And then this hijinks happens. That
then the surprise
in Act 2. The surprise, the surprise comes in Act 2 for Eddie. But it would be a great Martin Lawrence or Eddie Murphy comedy.
I love it. And along this similar lines, Trump admin is increasing their battle with Harvard, which I think is great. But they plan to withdraw Harvard from the student and exchange visitor program. So think about that. You had just talked about the
visas, international visas.
Now you can say, yeah, sorry, you don't have any foreign students. Tough shit.
Wow.
How much money is that going to cost them?
Dude, it's war. It's a war with the Marxist intelligentsia nerve center. He is doing the right thing. They have identified the enemy, and now they're going at them inch by inch, step by step.
Yep.
This is the nerve center.
Over 10,000, dude.
Okay.
Think about that. 10,000 overpriced tuitions. So you take that away, and you take away the government match, because we love to throw federal money matching that. Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It would be a beautiful thing. Goodbye.
Well, this is going to be fun. This is a good war to watch. This is going to be a very fun battle. Trump versus the Ivy League, I'm calling it.
Right. And I think, well, I never know with these justices. I agree with Mark Halperin on that one. Never assume what a judgment's going to be in today's world.
Of course.
Especially with the Supreme Court. But I would hope that the Supreme Court would hold up and say, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you have no guarantees. Sorry, you have no rights.
I think it's a no-brainer. I don't know what special laws apply to them. I don't know.
Well, you assume that every justice has brains, but anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a private university. Why do they get public funding? I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I can make the argument for NPR. You know, it's a government organization, government funding. That maybe, unless you went to Congress and defunded it through Congress, I can make that argument. But what argument can Harvard make? We're a private university, and you can't cut off our public funds. Their argument is, by the way, their argument is the First Amendment. That's what they're going to court with, that they're violating the First Amendment of Harvard. That's a crazy argument, but they have no argument. That's why they're reducing it, in my humble opinion, to a First Amendment free speech argument, that Trump doesn't like their speech, so he's defunding them. That's all they have. That's all they have.
I just saw this story. Did you see? I mean, literally, I just saw this right now.
I'm here with you. I'm not reading.
Oh, okay, no problem. Ex-New York Times editor breaks down in tears, apologizes to Sarah Palin in defamation trial. And it looks like this guy is one of those who spread that bullshit. Remember when?
Yeah, I remember when she was suing
got
them.
shot. I think this is over. Is it Gabby Giffords?
When she made a bullseye on her webpage or something.
Right, and he's
is he the one that said it was a target?
I'm not sure, but I don't want to go too far on it. But it says here he testified he blew it when he falsely claimed in an editorial that Palin's PAC had contributed to an atmosphere of violence in 2011.
Right.
So this guy apparently was weeping in the courtroom.
I know it went forward, which I thought was a big deal at the time.
Yes, it is the crosshairs.
Yeah. I remember when it went forward. To the surprise of the New York Times, that fought tooth and nail for it to be dismissed, saying she didn't have standing. But somebody said she did.
Good for her. That is really good news. Watching, well, look, ABC having to pony up the money, all these things. I like to see a little bit of the defamation sticking.
Now. Well, Trump is not backing down on 60 Minutes and CBS. I mean, that thing is either going to lead to the ending. I mean, the demands that he's going to make over that money are going to be really hysterically funny because he is going to get rid of Leslie Stahl. They're all going to retire and the show may be pulled. I mean, his demands could be endless once that discovery phase exposes them as the conspirator frauds that they are.
Good. I mean, good. I mean, they have been running their mouths as if they had this open, they've been acting like congressmen in Congress. Okay. We get to say whatever the hell we want. We can just lie indiscriminately. We can report lies and call it news. I understand the editorial. If you write editorials and that's an opinion, Okay,
Well,
fair game, that's the point.
Brendan Carr agrees with you. The head of the FCC said this morning that he's going after Comcast again for lying about Garcia, the illegal alien who is down in El Salvador. He's specifically going after Comcast originally because they won't give in on the DEI programs. And now he's doubling down to go after them again because of NBC Universal's lying, according to Brendan Carr, that it's illegal for the news to blatantly lie. And this was the lies that I was telling you about that was so crazy regarding this illegal alien and what happened to him. And Brendan Carr went on TV this morning announcing he's going to further investigate Comcast.
Well, do you remember that magical word that, you know, it's quaint now, but many years ago, they used this word allegedly. Remember that word? Just seems to have been removed from newspapers and news channels.
Well, this is beyond things. Allegedly. He's creating that Brendan Carr, the head of the FCC, said today that they're creating stories out of whole cloth, and in particularly in regard to Garcia. So he's going to hold their feet to the fire. I don't know what that means. He says the fines are enormous and they could lose affiliate licensing.
Good. Well, I want them to, well, we've talked about this before. I want them to rejigger the affiliate licensing. I want to see them say, okay, we're pulling them all back. Everybody has to bid for it now.
Well, there's different ways. According to Carr, there's different ways to skin that cat, and he knows them all. So I don't know them all, but there's definitely monetary things. There's definitely affiliate licensing that could be pulled, and he is really saber rattling, Eric.
Speaking of that, do you like how Trump handled the ruling for AP?
I don't know. There was a ruling. I didn't follow.
The court essentially said, yeah, you got to let him back in.
Okay.
So it's kind of brilliant though, because Trump has changed things to where they have a revolving press pool, where you've got a print section. They used to have a wire section.
Yeah.
So what they've done now is they've eliminated the wire section and rolled it into print. So every day there's a representative of print, and it's open. It could be anybody. And so the AP, instead of being one of the 3 wires or whatever, being at least once every 3 days or whatever it might be, now it's once every 32 days.
Ooh, I like that. Very smart.
But you can't say you're picking on them, because guess who else got screwed? Reuters,
UPI,
and the other wires.
UPI.
So they're probably like, you son of bitches. What the hell are you doing to us?
UPI got screwed.
So that was a slick move. Speaking of, while we're on the media here, Google ruled against them that they do have an illegal ad.
We kind of saw that coming. It's just a question of the penalty phase now. What does Google get? There he is. There's that Marxist revolutionary from India. Look at that piece of shit.
I don't think I think it's too little too late.
Could be
on this, because the truth is AI is just shredding them for the ad money and everything else. So it's like they've milked that so far dry with all the ad money. Technology itself has passed them, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know what the penalty is going to be here. I don't know the interest of the case. I mean, this is a monopoly situation. I don't know if it's a technology situation, but it's some victory, right?
It is some, but you know, as I interviewed Robert Epstein. If anybody wants to check that out, he was pointing out that this was to their benefit. They actually recommended going after them as a monopoly because people were going after them for violations in content that people were finding that harmed people, that actually could lead to criminal charges and stuff. And he explained it a whole lot better.
Well, let's see what the judge comes up with here as a penalty phase. It could be enormous, or it could be a slap on the wrist.
It could be, but unfortunately, I guess the judges, I think, tied to their lawyers and like help.
Well, all those judges are up there, but I mean, that's why once they allowed the case to go forward, that was the shocking story.
Yeah, true. All right, let's get some more super chat love here. Dick Dickerson gifted 20 America's Untold Stories memberships, which we deeply appreciate.
You know, that just so you know, that Florida State University shooter turned out to be a Trump hater. Tip of the hat to Laura Loomer again for exposing to the media what they didn't do for us, but she did.
If I may quote Adam Carolla,
What does that mean?
shocking.
Oh, shocking. Well, I mean, at least she got to his written words and posted his actual written words to make it definitive.
Yep. Let me see. Scott Biddle wants to know if the letter from Sirhan is on Locals or
what's it to you, Biddle? What do you want to? It's got your name's not in it. What do you care? What? It's a personal letter.
A love letter.
Yeah, I should put it on Locals for Biddle so he can relish in it. Thanks for the $5.
TB, great take on JFK's assassination, Mark. Lisa Pease's book, A Lie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Also a thorough examination.
Thoroughly thorough. It's so thorough. Dude, look, Lisa Pease did great work on Probe with Jim DiEugenio, and not such great work on this. At some point, she's got shooters on top of the steam table just shooting Kennedy. So it's just a crazy book. It's funny because, like I said many times on this show, when you have to write a new book about an old subject of like political assassination, you have to come up with new evidence. And some of you could always tell that where the new evidence is. You could go right to the book. And we did that with Buell Wesley Frazier's memoir. At the end of the book, he says that he came out of the building and he saw guys getting into a car with guns. It was just some made up crap to get the book deal. She's got these shooters on top of a steam table shooting, and I'm reading the book. And it's all old evidence, old evidence, old evidence. And you get to page 300 and something. And I go, what did I just read? And I read it again. I go, oh, for the love of God, honey.
Oh, boy. K-Dog said, Bondi is using the criticize with harsh words strategy on potential guilty Dems. Would it help if she stomped her feet while doing it?
Yeah, that's the equivalent of what she's doing. Unless you're putting them in jail, please don't bother calling me. I only want to hear or see a perp walk by a grand jury indictment and then some sort of trial and some sort of jailing. Then I will slap her on the back. Good luck.
It could be a strongly worded letter, Mark.
My mother could write a strongly worded letter. That's really strongly worded, but I gotta believe she's a fake out now. She's going to run out the clock and avoid any controversial arrests or cases.
Yeah,
until removed from office, until she's removed, which is what he should do. Yesterday, apparently, she's hired by Susie Wiles.
Let's see, TB. I meant RFK.
RFK.
I think I probably got it earlier. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's getting that. D-Sty or D-Sty is a new member. Thank you. Nick Giusti. This is by far the best channel and source for JFK and RFK content. Not so much for Dorothy Kilgallen, folks, though. Sorry, Mark. I couldn't resist. Thank you for all you guys.
Maybe there's a Dorothy Kilgallen channel. Somebody said in the comments, why don't I follow the work of Mark Shaw, who does great work on Dorothy Kilgallen? I'm going like, what do you need me for? You already got what you want. Leave me alone with this chick. And there's plenty of other channels out there, for the love of God. I mean,
if you want to read about Mark Shaw, I recommend going to Kennedy's and King.
Oh, yeah.
There's someone on that. That's Jim DiEugenio's site. It's not us. Somebody there wrote a piece on Mark Shaw, and especially Mark Shaw's work on Marilyn Monroe. This person is a Marilyn Monroe expert and shredded Mark Shaw. He shredded him some on Dorothy Kilgallen, but he really went to town on Marilyn Monroe because that's sort of this person's specialty, I think. And it's like, okay. And by the way, I think his views on Marilyn Monroe line up pretty close to our episode. He was pointing out how they cropped the picture to say there's no glass of the pillows. He said, if you look at the bigger picture, there's a glass sitting on the floor right next to the bed. And there's, a lot of other things that are interesting. Let me see. Nick Giusti. Years ago, my son and I were opening old basketball packs, and I pulled a Mark Jackson 1990 NBA hoops card with the Menendez brothers sitting front row shortly after offing their parents. Nice guys. Wow.
Was it a
Is
Nick
it more
Laker
collect-
game? Mark Jackson was on the Knicks. Maybe
don't
maybe it was a Nick Laker game, but that's
maybe,
funny.
but is that more collectible for the player or for the audience? That's a weird
Well, the
one.
hearing was delayed yesterday by the judge, just to give you an update on this case. And Mark Garagos is calling for a banning. I don't know how this is even possible. A banning of Nathan Hochman from the case to the judge. Nathan Hochman is representing the people of Los Angeles as the district attorney. Garagos sounds desperate now. So I don't know what's going to happen. They postponed the hearing. It's supposed to be today, and it's now being put off to May for some reason.
Sounds like this is getting juicy.
Oh no, dude, I'm on this thing. This thing's getting really juicy.
This would be a better documentary than their case, right? The battle to get them out.
Well, the documentary is really good. I mean, the Netflix thing is real good.
Is it? All right.
Yeah, it's really well done.
All right. Dead Video Club said a Harland Malmgren interview with Jesse Michaels coming soon regarding the JFK/UFO connection. Any insight into Malmgren and the claim? All yours, Mark.
I've never heard of any of these people. So I don't people put, Joseph Stevenson is meeting up and interviewing his new book on muskrats. I never heard of any of those people.
Well, it makes me think, remember that Georgia thing when we're both going, yeah, I don't know what's this Georgia statue thing? It's like, how dare you? You're non-conspiracy people.
The Stonehenge of Georgia.
Yeah, the seven stones or something.
Either,
so, yeah, it's like,
I don't know who these people are. I mean, I can't really comment. I don't know who they are, to be honest.
All right. John Lennon equals CIA operative Jose Perdomo working at the Dakota the night Lennon was shot. I've heard about that the doorman was a CIA guy or something, but we don't really.
It sounds crazy that they'd waste a CIA agent being a doorman at the Dakota, but maybe they have a lot of guys who moonlight.
It could have been chaos, but that didn't mean he killed him. But because he was being surveyed, wasn't he?
Well, they were trying to deport him, for his anti-war activity.
Were they still in 1980 though, or are they kind of been
that was during the Nixon administration.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So by 1980, I don't think they really give a damn about.
No, I mean
most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Diffuse 56, 13 months of learning and laughing with AUS.
I like when these people put in the comments that sometimes there's a guy going, what are these two chuckle clowns laughing about on this show? I'm new to the channel. I can't put up with this laughter. They're talking about assassinations and murder, and they seem to still be laughing, these two chuckle clowns.
I don't know.
Yeah.
To our fellow,
a lot of grumpy people out there.
There are. Think about it this way. You have the autism spectrum and you have the get off my lawn spectrum. What if you combine them? And there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. And you got the Sundowners group, the people who are legitimately old with Sundowners. You ever explain to me what Biden was doing on that speech the other day? How much did they pay Biden to get him to go out? He started talking about disabled people, 60 million disabled people in America, yelling. What was going on in that speech?
I don't know if he knew. I didn't watch it, so you watched it, so I don't.
I watched it. He started talking about colored boys going on a bus in Delaware somewhere. I don't know. He started rambling on about black kids that he called colored kids. Wow.
Well, he loved Robert Byrd too, if I recall.
Who didn't?
Alex Daviduke. Great to see you guys in Las Vegas. Yes, Mark is right about the POS foreigner running YouTube.
Thank you.
When will he be sued and charged?
Thank you.
And then with whatever, and then where's Bondi? I don't know.
Thank you. This guy's
He's on Fox.
Just check in on Fox. We met this guy at the thing. He's all right, this guy.
Yeah, we did. By the way, more pictures are up for the Las Vegas event. If you guys want to check it out, americasuntoldstories.com/events. There's a link there, and you can find pictures of yourself.
What? Pictures of yourself if you were there. That's nice.
Yeah. They're all up there, or you could just go look and say, who are the weirdos?
Is there a picture of the panel, of us doing the panel thing?
I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at the pictures myself. Leslie put them up, and there should be pictures. I know there's at least one or two of the four of, or you and I are there. The four of us are there, and others.
Okay.
Lots of
That's
pictures.
helpful.
Diffuse 56 gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships, which we thank you very much.
I mean, I don't know if anybody wants to subscribe, but what other channel has this information? You know what I mean? Like the RFK files, the JFK guests. I mean, are there other channels that do this? I very rarely watch other channels.
Dark Journalist comes up a lot. People talk about him. I think it's JFK though more.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody doing RFK.
I don't know who the hell does this stuff.
I
don't know. Don't subscribe. Let's keep it the way it is. Forget
hold on. No, we did have a milestone. We crossed 125,000.
Oh, I can't believe
yesterday.
It. Yeah. Did anybody call? You know why? Because the Indian from Google is busy with the trial and he couldn't keep the suppression going. He took his foot off the gas pedal, this guy.
Maybe. I don't know.
The second he gets eliminated, and I mean eliminated as CEO.
Well, he's the guy in charge of Google or Alphabet.
Yeah.
Then there's another Indian, Neil, who's
right,
in charge
the
of
other
YouTube.
Indian, right. These are, according to Dinesh D'Souza, he talks about these Indians as being not welcome in their own country. And they've come over here. These are communist Indians that they've had their backs turned against them in India and have come over here to do their Marxist bidding in the tech world,
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew?
It works for them, I guess. H1B, baby. But all right, let me see. And then Sean Lucan gifted 20 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you very much. JS with probably a solid point here. And I think this is going to be happening.
Yeah.
EPA regulations need lessons so we can manufacture drugs, gunpowder, and other important products. This is part of the plan with Trump. It's not only tariffs. It's you only hear tariffs, but deregulation is a big part of it as well. It's like a multi-prong. It's like deregulation, tariffs, and then reducing taxes. Even though how
about taking the guns away from the IRS? They're going to take their guns away. How they ever got the guns is crazy, but I mean, that was by Biden.
How about taking the agents away from IRS too?
Well, I think the 87,000 are looking for work, but there are some armed ones that they're going to disarm. I don't think the IRS. I mean, it's like having somebody who is who writes out tickets for parking being armed.
Oh no, I agree with you. If you have somebody who is really that bad of a criminal, go to the FBI, open a case, or Secret Service, or we have plenty of law enforcement agencies. Oh, did you hear though that he may be rolling up ATF into DEA?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I'm
like roll them both up.
Roll everything into everything else. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of them like DEA and Border Patrol.
Put them together.
I would love to see consolidation of some of these agencies.
Well, they did it in the magazine business. I mean, Dissent magazine merged with Commentary and became Dysentery. See how I work that, Eric? See,
you're a disease. That's for sure. Wow.
Mergers do happen, and they can be beneficial.
They can be, absolutely. Well, I mean, especially the government. I mean,
what
are some?
Well, I think he's moving some of the agencies to the Midwest too. He said
that's great, but I mean, one of the problems we have with the agencies is what they don't talk to each other. Well, guess what? If they're with the same agency, maybe the communication will open up too.
I'd move them to red states, as a reward. I'd give the red states. I'm serious.
Okay,
move them to Ohio. Let Vivek have a couple of agencies in Ohio.
Yeah, sure.
Utah, give a couple to Utah.
I just want to move them where they're actually effective. So, I mean, if
it's a federal agency. So, I mean, the point is, drain the swamp is physically draining the swamp. I mean, you could literally.
Yes.
Dude, I was in DC. Oh, you were in DC. I don't know. I was in DC for that Tim Pool thing. There's so many empty condo apartment buildings. You know what I mean? Not office buildings. I'm talking about residential that looks like they built them and they couldn't fill them. Empty apartment after empty apartment after empty apartment. I don't know if it's because of Trump or what, but it's a lot of real estate that's empty there.
Well, Kash Patel, I feel, was correct with what he was saying that I forget, like over 50% of the FBI is sitting in DC.
Yeah.
Just moving them to the field offices all over the country is a perfect move, because guess where the crime's taking place? All around the country.
To be honest, one of the old Hoover regulations was that you could never be an FBI agent in the city that you were born in. You had to serve at least 10 years. This was a standard FBI rule. You had to at least serve 10 years in the Bureau before you could apply to move to your actual city that you were raised in. And that was for corruption. That was to avoid corruption.
That's not a bad idea per se. Yeah. I mean, some policies are actually more wise than
this was wise. This was wise. Yeah.
Like another policy I like is you can never be in the same unit as your sibling in the military.
That's because of the Sullivans?
I think so. What? Yeah.
The Sullivan Act.
Several, there were several things like that, but some of these make sense. So it's like, okay, don't put all together.
Die in the same battle. Well, that's what whatchamacallit's about. The Spielberg movie.
Yeah. Brenda S. Appreciate you guys. Well, we appreciate you, Brenda. Thank you. And Stephen McMahon. We now have all docs from National Archive on JFK, but is it true there are still all kinds of docs at CIA, FBI, and NSA?
Let me ask something, McMahon. Have you ever read any of these fucking docs? What do you give a shit? And I'm being that half jokingly, but these people keep saying, I want them all out there. And they're not involved in any of this stuff. You're the American people. Read them yourself. Get off your fat ass, go to the website, and start reading them and run your own country. I'm not doing that to pick on McMahon. I'm encouraging people to become better citizens by getting involved in reading the documents of their own government. That would be a start. I can't read them all for you. I'm just one guy. Everybody should drop what they're doing whenever they get some free time and start looking at it with their kids. These are your documents, people. This is your country. Read them. See what's going on. Don't wait for me to do it or a handful of people. Do it yourself. Get involved.
Thank you. To answer your question, there are other documents. They found some at a CIA outpost, and we already know about the IRS documents that they haven't released with Oswald and Payne. So yeah, I'm sure there are more. Let's see what happens.
We need Tulsi more people, not more documents.
True. And Tulsi may, while she's sending runners to find stuff, maybe she'll find other stuff too. I like what she's doing. Overall, she seems pretty squared away. But on that note, we are going to be headed over.
All right, before we do that, we have a guest on Tuesday I wanted to tell you about. Captain John Newman is coming on Tuesday. He's now a professor of history at James Mason University. He is the author of CIA and Oswald and two of the greatest books in the history of the JFK. He's been featured in Destiny Betrayed. He's going to be on talking about Oswald in Russia and Oswald in Mexico City this Tuesday as part of our ongoing JFK series. So we have that to look forward to. I just wanted to get that in there. Just to
damn. Yeah. Well, by the way, folks, this is new to me. This is the first.
Yeah, we were just talking about it last night, me and him. So he's going to come on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about his two books. And he's a document freak. He's former military intelligence. Nice. Captain John Newman. You may have seen him in a lot of Oliver Stone documentaries. And he has a interesting story to tell about Oswald in the Soviet Union. And Oswald, maybe with quotes around his name, in Mexico City.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to that one. It's the last super chat here. How to tell the female space trip is fake. Their hair versus Suni's hair on Space Station 5 Ding Dongs didn't have a hair out of place. Suni's hair was everywhere.
Who was Suni?
Suni was the astronaut that got left in space. She probably didn't have 5,000 pounds of product locking it in place too. So who knows on that? By the way, now that Mark brought that up, we do not have the code yet, but we are going to be in Dallas in November at the JFK Lancer event, and we should be probably as soon as Tuesday. I don't know for sure. Have a code for you to order tickets or plan ahead if you want to go to the a big JFK event with not only us but a lot of luminaries and other figures who will be at the event. We did this a couple years ago, and we're planning to do it this year. So it's a little teaser ahead of time. And as soon as we have that, we will be telling you about it on the show. Probably
it's important to people from overseas more than the domestic
for sure.
people here, but they do sell out, and they do have virtual tickets too for people who want to watch it. So if you can't make it, you can watch it on TV.
And some people will get both. I mean,
I've seen people get both. Yeah.
I mean,
well, there's a dinner that
yeah.
we have a banquet dinner. You can talk to everyone, Eugenio, myself, and others. Usually everyone's there for this Lancer thing. So it behooves you to be there if you can. It's much better than watching it.
For sure.
Yeah. And and there's, some presentations are very entertaining.
Yeah, like that kid.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get there, but we'll see. We'll see what Over on Locals has today when we get over there too.
Remember, unstructured.locals.com. It's free.
If you're on the spectrum, if you're autistic, partially retarded, mongoloid, or any of the above, you can watch it on Locals commercial free and not be annoyed by the repetitive YouTube commercials. I get it. Go to unstructured.locals.com. You can watch it for free and without commercials.
Yep.
Because sometimes it triggers whatever's in their head, an implant or some sort of electrode could be triggered, or just your own brain could be triggered. I get the problem. So unstructured.locals.com. If you want to join, that's up to you. That's up to you. But Eric is almost finished with the new LBJ audio drama, which is going to be part of the new membership package, Eric, I presume, like we did.
Yeah, it's for the paid supporters.
Right.
So, I mean, we put a lot of content there for people who are free. So it's not one of those annoying things where you're like, oh, I'm a member and all I see is paid post, paid post, paid post.
No, we don't even bother with that.
That just sucks.
But
I mean,
what did we do last time? You get the audio drama as part of your membership or something?
Yes,
if you're a new member, let's say, if you're new.
Well, you get that. You get Oswald. You get everything that is for paying supportut up to that point.
Okay.
And it is definitely, I think, worth it to get the extra. But either way, even if you become a free member, it is helpful. And I don't trust YouTube. You never know. They could get mad at us to spend us for a week.
Yeah.
And if you are that, a free member, I send out an email so you know that the show's coming out. So we can say,
that's
hey,
helpful. That's
something
helpful.
went wrong, and it's a way to kind of be able to keep in contact. There's almost 20,000 people.
Is that true?
Who are just members, and then a couple thousand who are paid, but still 20,000 who are enjoying content.
Wow.
So we're headed over there now, and I hope to see you.
See you over there.